What up, everyone? You're watching Profiles and Drive. I got a very special guest today. Her name is Candice Cross. She's an instructor for Tracy Anderson. She's a professional salsa dancer, and she's co-founder of Tenth Muse. Aside from what I said, building on what I said, who are you? What do you do? And let the audience know a little bit more about you.
Okay. I'm Candice, and I'm a professional dancer, which includes training for Tracy Anderson, who is a dance fitness guru, pretty much.
Yeah.
She created this method of dance fitness that incorporates a lot of ballet lines, a lot of dance aerobics, a lot of dance movements incorporated into a high-intensity fitness workout.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm one of her trainers, so I basically study her method and then deliver it to her clients, our clients, whatnot.
Uh-huh.
And then I dance salsa with my boyfriend Donnie, and that's, we do performances, and then we also, because my background is in contemporary dance, we also merge salsa and partnering with contemporary and create pieces and then perform them.
That's cool. I only dream of being a contemporary. I've taken classes. I love how I move when I do contemporary because it's so different from breaking and hip hop. And how'd you get introduced to becoming an instructor for Tracy?
I just auditioned. As a dancer, you're always looking for work, right? And always looking. I was teaching all over town, right? At a studio. I was at a different studio every night of the week. I also am a certified Pilates instructor.
Oh, wow.
So I was teaching at Equinox. So I was Equinox from 6 to 10 in the morning, and then a different dance studio teaching from 5 to 7 or whatever, teaching a modern or a ballet class or a Pilates class. And I ended auditioning in the middle of the day, right?
Wow.
And it came up on Answers for Dancers, actually. I saw
I've never heard of that.
You've never heard of
No,
Answers
I haven't.
for Dancers?
Wow.
Yeah. Answers for Dancers is a website, and you can pay. It used to be $20 a month. I haven't had it in a few years since I started working for Tracy, actually. And it's an audition listing. And they also have teaching job listings.
Oh, wow. I'm probably... Because I never really intended to go for that far into the dance industry, so that's pretty cool because I normally have gotten gigs from just through mutual friends or going to auditions at the studios, and that's about it. And somehow, or just going to the agency websites or whatever there is. That's cool.
And when you don't have an agent, it's kind of, you can find auditions on your own, and a lot of those auditions are posted, so they'll call the agents and they'll post it on there too.
Oh, wow. You said that you got into the Tracy Anderson and you were teaching at a whole bunch of other studios. So, because my current school of thought is that you go to dance studio and you teach sort of what you know.
Yeah.
And how is that different from teaching what your own style of you know what I mean? Your style, and then you go and teaching. I guess I'm assuming you teach a Tracy Anderson method, right?
Yeah.
So how is that going from a different school, from a regular type of dance class, and then going to more of someone else's sort of structure? Right.
It's completely different. Because you're basically studying. Well, I guess it's if you were a locker, right? And you were studying all of these great locking legends, and you were watching them to see how they move and how they. It's kind of similar to that. Where in modern dance or contemporary, there's Martha Graham, right? So there's Graham dancers who move in the style of Martha Graham. So it's similar to that. So it's now here I am. I was already a Pilates instructor and a dance instructor, and now I'm learning the way that Tracy Anderson has taken fitness and dance and put them together, studying the way that she moves, and then reproducing that in the same way that you would, reproduce if a choreographer has movement for you, and then you would reproduce it for performance. It's very similar.
Okay.
But your performance is in front of clients and in front of classes
and I
rather than on stage.
You invited me to an audition. That audition was intense. I was disgustingly sweaty after that. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And what I liked about it when they were talking is that, because essentially as a dance instructor, I'm promoting myself. I'm an independent contractor. But what I really liked about it is that they took care of the students for you. Mm-hmm. That's what I loved.
Yes.
So
I think that's why I've been there for so long.
Because as artists, like, marketing isn't always our strongest point. Yeah. But it must have been really nice for them to just, I got you.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's you talked a little bit about also doing your own thing versus doing someone else's thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of also that give and take, mm-hmm. right? Because you have this this method that you're learning, but mm-hmm. it's not your own material.
Yeah.
So you then it becomes this is my job. This is like similar to the way that people have like a 9-to-5 and then they do arts outside of that.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see what I do there. Like that's my paid work, you know. Uh-huh. That's my 9-to-5, except it's not 9-to-5. It's like 6 a.m. to noon or something.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing the schedule.
Yeah. And it changes all the time because clients are always like changing their schedules, or everyone works out at different times, or someone will cancel or whatever. But that's my like bread and butter, and then I have my creative time outside of that. Uh-huh. Versus when I was teaching for myself, it's kind of all in there, and you have to promote yourself, and you have to get clients and sell yourself. Really. Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of nice, but the payoff is that you're selling now Tracy Anderson.
Got it. Well, we were talking about a little bit about 10th Muse before we started recording. Let the audience know what's 10th Muse a little about, and then what inspired you to start it to begin with.
Yeah. 10th Muse is a community, a network of female artists. We're all grounded on the idea that femininity kind of nurtures all. Mm-hmm. And so it's basically, we do events, we do shows, we do workshops, all based on really nurturing and supporting female artists, particularly in Los Angeles. So something that I noticed as a dancer, and my sister is a musician, mm-hmm. and we were really called to start it because the arts industry, the industry period, is so competitive.
Yeah,
right? And like as dancers, you go to a dance audition and someone's like dancing in front of you,
yeah.
And girls are can be very mean, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, but I love dancing, and I didn't want that experience to be it for the arts in LA, right? Mm. And the same thing with musicians. And then just looking at our culture and looking at women in general, like the way that we interact with each other, creating a space for a more positive interaction among women, mm-hmm. and really using that to have an impact on our culture at large. And then not just about women necessarily, like women are the root of it. So raising these female artists up and giving them a platform to really shine, promoting them, holding events, putting all our heads together in order to really raise each other up, but also femininity in everyone. Mm-hmm. So this balance between masculinity and femininity, and how, like, really realizing how masculine our culture is, yeah. And how this feminine force can really create a lot more unconditional love and support and just a lot of positive things for community, yeah. And for the arts community in Los Angeles in general, because if you look at the entertainment industry, there's 1% of people that are actually like thriving and making money at their craft, yeah. Right? And so here we are, the other 99%, instead of kicking and fighting to get those jobs to maybe become one of the 1%, we can transform what it's like to be the 99%. Huh. And that is how we interact with each other.
Oh wow, so it's really taking away that whole idea of separation, really cultivating the ones that are sort of left out, and sort of becoming the group of outcasts and saying, hey, we may not be a part of the popular kids, but we're still together, we're still thriving.
Yes, exactly.
Oh wow.
And that we create that, right? We create thriving, we create our experience. So part of the impetus for that was to, okay, we'll create our own stage. We'll create our own jobs. What does that look like?
Huh. You know? Yeah, I heard you say that the whole balance of between masculine and feminine. Like, talk to me like 5 years ago. I don't want to be Mr. sensitive. Like, how? And I guess not a lot of guys see that there's the benefits of the balance of the feminine energy and the masculine energy, because, I mean, being a boy or guy, sorry, I'm a boy. We hear the conversation, man up, grow some balls, don't be a little bleep, and all of that, and then we don't get this, we don't ever get to really experience our emotions, because we're told that it's wrong growing up, right. And then when we grow, I guess more, we go into the space of more relationships, whether friends, family, girlfriends, whatever, we're expected to be able to share how we feel. And then how important, I guess what I'm getting to is like, how important is it to be able to balance that energy, and how would you start?
Right. I think that's really what's driving us too, right? And there's a whole kind of shift in paradigm that is starting to happen, and I think it comes first and foremost from awareness, and just that changing the fact that there is a community that exists of people that aren't going to call you a blank if you cry, or you know what I mean?
I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah exactly. And then as leaders, right, as teachers, as we interact with the younger generation, as we interact with each other as adults, like kind of shifting our ways of thinking about what it is to be a man and what it is to be masculine, and you know, and how femininity ties into that, because we're all whole beings, right? And so thinking about masculinity and femininity as energies rather than genders, right? And so every single one of us has these feminine traits, which are like very open and soft, relating, you know, like talking, communicating. Those are all very feminine things.
Oh, so like friendship.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you think about it, I mean, it's manifested in men and women, right? Because women like to talk to each other. Women like to communicate. Women are all about spending time together and just doing nothing and hanging out and chatting, and right? Men are like straightforward, direct, like they need a task, they need to fix something, they need to do something, right? I mean,
oh man, I feel that.
And so those are very masculine qualities, and when you have, I think where the imbalance comes from is that men still need to talk and speak and relate and have these softer qualities, and women still need to like be direct and get things done, right? But it's having that balance in both. I think a lot of women feel like in today's culture, in today's society, in order to get ahead, you have to be more like men, because when you look at the top, you see a lot of men. And so we have these women that are like animating their masculine side, and then we have men that are suppressing their feminine side. So it's kind of like, okay, let's just create a space and a way of thinking and a way of being that's like letting women be balanced in their feminine side and animate their masculine when they need to, and that doesn't discriminate against men that are animating their masculine or feminine, that are in touch with those feminine qualities or that use them. And the effects that will have on our society are massive. You think about I don't want to say if women rule the world, but like things like war and conflict, and I mean there's so many, if those were handled in a more feminine way, like how much farther along would we be? How much more would we be getting along versus, you know, if you disagree with someone, then you bomb them.
That's true. I remember, no offense to women, but I remember reading this meme that if the women did rule the world, there wouldn't be wars. They would just be sitting and talking with each other. Right. So I feel like that would be true, because I don't think they would ever really want to destroy, like, from my perception of it, like they would really want to destroy any other people, because I feel like their thing is to want to protect the children.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how
Yeah.
some would be. Because for me, in my perspective, if I ever had to choose that, the first thing I would think of is, how am I going to protect my kids and family?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's different now because I'm a dad. Maybe it might be different if I'm just a single dude.
Right.
Because as a single person, I can be a little bit more selfish.
Right.
But what would a masculine, I guess, or overly masculine female look like?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's more about ways of being, right? And not to say that there are women of power are over masculine.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's maybe denying some of our nature, our innate nature. I think it, particularly like in business or in negotiation, like I think a lot of women are afraid to maybe ask for what they want, or they don't negotiate as much. And so that would be not being masculine, right?
Yeah,
that would
yeah,
be
yeah.
like, so I think maybe a woman that's overly masculine might be pushing it a little bit harder, trying a little bit too hard, being really harsh,
okay,
right?
Okay, no, I can think of people
what's
like
interesting, yeah, and what's interesting is that when a woman is very direct and very demanding and a great negotiator, right? What the common judgment is, she's a
bitch.
right, exactly. I'm glad you said it because I didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
But when a man is direct and he's a businessman.
That's
or
true.
He's
Yeah,
a
there's
man.
a whole double
He's a
standard.
man.
Yeah, there's a double standard, of, especially particularly in the sexual context of like whore and man whore. Of like, so some guys are okay if they slept with 5 different other people. I'm not saying people like go out and do it, but then there's when women do that, they're perceived as a slut.
Right.
And in the context of, I feel like even though that idea of real equality is still being worked out.
Right. That's what drives me, right? I think that if women had a really strong sense of self-worth, then they wouldn't be driven to there would be no question about having sex with a lot of men, right? And so that whole concept, and when women have the self-worth and really, really respect and love their bodies to the point that they won't let it be taken advantage of, or that they won't give it away, then men will follow suit, right? It's when you're, and not to say that any woman deserves to be disrespected.
Yeah.
That's not at all what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that when you have that self-worth and that confidence, and you won't do those types of things. If that was more common, then men wouldn't be kind of taking it, right? If you weren't giving it away, no one would be able to take it. And so I think that it starts there. And so it's really a responsibility of women to view themselves in that way first. Yeah. And then the rest of the culture will see them that way too. So then I think men will see them that way too. Not that men are off the hook by any means, right? But I think the double standard.
We still got our work.
Yeah, exactly. But coming from responsibility of, well, I think if women, and there's so many things that, I mean, so much sex is like used to sell everything these days,
what I was just,
right?
I was just about thinking about that, like, because there's the one side of where it's business. Some women are I guess, emulating their masculine a lot more. Then there's the other side where they're forced to use their sexuality because it's what's going to help them get paid.
Right.
So and
there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, how I don't know, what are your takes on that?
That's another driving force for Tenth Muse, because there is so much pressure to use your sexuality to either get what you want or promote yourself or get attention. Yeah. And there's so many other gifts that women and men, that we all have, right? That we can create and be creative outside of our sexuality, right? That's just such a small part of what we have to create with, right? And so the arts is a huge part of that, right? Like, there are so many ways to dance and draw people in and entertain people through dance that are not sexual.
Yeah.
Right? And same thing with painting and arts and singing and everything, you know? So creating content that is not using sex to sell, that is not overly sexual, I think is the first step. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think, yeah, you did.
Yeah. Okay.
And tell me about Tenth Muse a little bit more. What have you guys done so far? Because I've seen you guys, and you guys have done a lot so
Thanks.
far. So
We started with a festival, a music, dance, vendor fair type of festival 2 years ago at Fado Do. And basically it was different artists, different female artists, from bands to solo performers. We had a comedian, we had a rapper.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then we had female vendors selling jewelry that they make,
cool.
and paintings on the walls. Yeah, so the whole idea of let's just bring a bunch of women together, a bunch of creative women together in the same space and promote them, right? And raise each other up is the idea. And then the following year, we did a show called Ashes to Wings, which is, again, bringing women together, but this time bringing women together to create together. So rather than you have a stage and you just, everyone comes on and does their thing, now we're all coming together to create a show together. And so that was 4 dancers, 2 actresses, and 2 musicians.
Oh, wow.
And we all created this. It was one woman telling her story. And then with the support of dance and music.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was really
that's really
awesome.
Collaborative. Dang,
Yeah, so and that was the whole thing, is like collaboration versus competition. Then we had the Council of Divine Feminine, where we brought together 4 different religious leaders.
Really?
And had them talk about the role of femininity in their spiritual practice. So we had a Catholic priest, a Buddhist reverend.
Wow.
And then a Jewish scholar, and those were our 3 panelists. And then we had a moderator, Tatiana Luthi, who is a woman's leadership. She does a lot of work in kind of the same vein as she has different conferences for women who are building business or transitioning in their careers. She's really a leader in women's empowerment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she moderated and we talked about, what is femininity, what is divine femininity, and how does it play a role in these major ancient religions, right? Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism have been around for a very long time.
That's true, and there are a lot of male figureheads.
Totally, yeah. And that's the thing, that even though there's these male figureheads, where does femininity fit?
Yeah.
And it was a huge conversation about that. A lot of what we just talked about, that it's this masculine and feminine energy that creates balance. And so you may have these masculine figureheads, but there's this feminine driving it.
That's
and
true.
Bringing it to the people in every single one of those cultures.
That's
and
true.
even every one of those traditions.
Yeah, I mean, I was raised up Catholic, and I just remember he was like one of the balanced in terms of masculine and feminine, because I remember the story of, I think there were people in one of the synagogues or something, and then they were selling, and he got mad. This is supposed to be a house of prayer. You made it into a den of thieves. So that was him being direct, but he was always preaching about love.
Right.
So I just came up to that realization that he was like the really balanced in that. Huh.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh, sorry. And then we also have Express Yourself, which is, we've partnered with Jackie Ruiz, who does, she's a mortician, and she created this workshop, this training of expressing emotion through painting. So she takes you through this whole process where you release your emotions onto the canvas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Regards to this 10th Muse and creating this community, what were some of the challenges that you faced? I
think being really clear and communicating to people, I have an idea a minute. I'm so creative.
Yeah.
And like communicating to people and really getting them involved in such a way that they take ownership of it. Also working, I mean, I work on average 30 hours a week, and my job is very physically demanding.
Oh, I bet.
So finding the time to nurture all these relationships, and knowing when to delegate out, and really creating a team that is so much on fire with your vision and your mission. That it's not just your vision, it's not just about you, it's about everyone else on your team. And really building a team and learning the ins and outs of being an effective leader in order to create other leaders, right? In order for them to take on your vision and your mission and follow through, you know? Because we're all so busy. Everyone's busy.
True.
And so it's so great. It almost feels like a utopian idea to say, well, let's come together and create. And it's like,
does utopian.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, but I still got to pay the bills.
That's true.
Right? And everyone does. And so it's like, we still, and in terms of that, well, let's not be the 99% clicking and clawing to get that 1%, but it's like, but the 1% is where the money's at. So how do we, figuring out how to really work with each other and support each other and really get other people aligned with this vision and mission. And I think too, in a virtual world, it's so easy to connect on Facebook and YouTube, and I think people don't really like to leave their house anymore.
I can see that.
Getting people to events is actually kind of challenging, I mean, we do have a good turnout, but it takes a lot of work. It takes consistent promoting and phone calls and going out and meeting, talking to people, and really building relationships in order for people to want to show up. Right.
So because a lot of questions just popped in my mind, but I know one of the things that you just made me think of, because it's just an idea. Some people think you just build it, they'll come. And then from what I'm learning more and more, I'm just not gonna say, hey, everyone, I'm doing a workout. Who wants to come?
Exactly.
And I'm learning more and more. It's like the relationships. It's really building that connection with the people who you want there, right?
So, totally.
How did you cultivate that with your busy schedule? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people watching this are pretty busy themselves.
Well, I think nothing would happen at all if it wasn't for my sister and our partner Daniel. Yeah, because the three of us would just bounce ideas off of each other, and then we became a team. And so they do probably even more work than I do, right? And so I think that's part of it, is having a strong team. I'm so grateful for them because they keep me going. Then they're like, hey, could you do this or this or this? And it's like, I know what to do, and the buck doesn't stop with just me, right? It's something that we're doing in collaboration. So I think that's the first thing. And then also just like time management, and doing things even though I don't want to, like I don't necessarily want to make phone calls, but I have to just buckle up and do it, or I don't want to, be online on Facebook or answering emails. Like there's so many times where I'm tired, I've been working out all morning, I've been driving around, whatever, and I just want to go into my cave. And that's when your relationships really kind of dwindle, right? 'Cause if you don't keep that constant relationship with people, then they're not going to want to show up for you. And so
that's true.
It's that balance between, okay, I have my personal time, and then I have that time that I'm reaching out and supporting other people. And so this constant thing comes up in my mind where it's like, this is not a chore, this is a relationship that you're nurturing. You're nurturing.
Dang. So how important is it to build a team? Because a lot of people, especially on my end at first, when I was first starting off my dance crew, I thought I can do this all on my own. I cut the music, I choreographed, I did formations, I did costuming, I booked gigs. and I eventually found a place. I was at a place where I was just burnt out. Like the costumes were just terrible. That's not my end. Yeah. But like, how important is it to be able to delegate and have a team?
I think it's number one, and it's also because you're not just getting stuff off of your plate and allowing yourself to do the things that you're really good at, like to really really use your strengths. You're also creating a space for someone else to do what they're good at.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like without that, then you're just burning yourself out. Yeah. And you can't do anything really well because you're trying to do everything.
Yeah.
And so you do everything, you know, a little bit rather than doing one thing really well and having the trust that someone else can do it better than you.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah, that's
and
a
letting
huge
go
part.
and saying, here, like this is, you know.
That's I think that's what's scary is that trust that it's going to get done, and sometimes it's not going to look the way you want it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, so true.
Yeah, so it's like not being attached to it, right?
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah.
that's what was huge for me. Like, they're not gonna choreograph it right. They're not gonna cut the music right or whatever.
It's just like, okay, however they do it, it will be perfect for this event.
Yeah.
And then, you know, after it's all said and done, you can choose how much you want to be involved or how much. If it's not what you wanted, then it's like, well, did I give them enough direction? Was I clear about what I wanted? And there's also, as great as it is to collaborate, there's people that are great collaborators, and there are people that aren't, right? There are people that, and you mesh well with certain personality types and you don't. So it's also finding out like what kind of person is going to balance you out. What kind of person can you collaborate with? So if someone doesn't do what you want, then it's like, okay, well, maybe we're not right for each other.
So it's really being mindful of who you're picking, because it's easy to say, hey, you're the most talented kid, hop on my team, and when you start working together, it's just egos butting heads.
Right.
So
there's a really great personality test that's like super simple, and it's about building teams. There's a website, it's called theschoolrocks.com.
Really?
Yes, and there's it's called the Fido assessment, and I think if you just go to theschoolrocks.com and you type in Fido, you'll find the test, and it basically tells you what your traits are. So you're either flaky, evil, dorky, or obnoxious.
What? That's simple.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, so you want to build a team that has all four of those components. So if you're going to collaborate with someone, you know, you can have them take the test and you can figure out, okay, well, if I have a team and all three of us are flaky, then maybe this isn't going to work out. I need someone who's evil, and I need someone who's obnoxious, and I need a dork.
Wow.
Right?
Wow, there's a time and place for evil then.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kitschy, you know, it's kind of a joke, like not necessarily evil, but yeah, they have those qualities.
Like, go do whatever it takes, even though it may look like make them look like a bad guy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, sort of almost like the dirty work.
Yeah, totally. And then you have your dorky technician, you know, you have your obnoxious salesperson, right? And then you have your flaky. The flaky is like the creative one.
Oh wow, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The evil is like the evil businessman, or you know.
Wow, that's kind of a really simple way of remembering it now. Huh.
Yeah, exactly. That's how, and the school is where I learned it, and that's how I found it so easy to like work with that particular platform, because there's tons of personality tests, right?
Yeah, I've taken a couple, and so some of it's just hard for me to remember. This one's like easy.
Yeah, exactly. And so then you just have to make sure that the people you're talking to know about the personality test, because if I'm like, oh yeah, you're flaky, they're like, wait.
So when it comes to, I guess, working in a team, how do you deal with egos?
That's again, like, there's some people that work well with others. Yeah. There's some people that don't, and I think it's also in developing those relationships, being able to say to someone, like, okay, you know, maybe you could check your ego, or with, maybe not in those words.
Yeah.
But I think also, like, when you come from responsibility, then it allows the other person it gives them a way to realize for themselves. For example, if I have a dance piece and I am working with a costume designer and she does the costumes in a way that I don't particularly like, and I've completely let it go, and it's like, okay, well, it's still working, right? If they're still workable, then at the end of it, was I really, instead of saying you did this wrong, right? That would be me coming from ego.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, looking at the situation, was I really clear on what I wanted? If I was going to be so, you know, because I'm not satisfied. So how can I communicate in a more clear way so that I'm not disappointed in the future? And when I tell that person, instead of coming to them and saying, oh, you were wrong, you did it totally wrong, everything's wrong,
oh,
right?
Man, yeah.
Then you're saying, hey, I don't think I was very clear, but you know, in the future, I would like it to be this way or that way, or maybe we can change these to be like this because, you know, this isn't working here or whatever, rather than just, and then that gives them an opportunity to say, oh, okay, you know. But then there's also people that will be, you know, like, oh, well, I'm so insulted. Like, how could you insult my work?
Yeah.
Like, right?
Some people take it personally.
Yeah, and so I think it's all in communication, which is always challenging, right? Because we're human.
That's true. And I was just reading too, because it's great to have that, I guess, open communication and be honest in terms of our how we say things, or like in our communication. But then I recently read, like, I guess not everyone is open to that, because some people like are triggered and like, what? Even though no matter how we deliver it, there may always be that sort of that backfire from someone that doesn't know how to take I guess feedback,
right,
or at least properly. So maybe, but the best part I'm just processing in my own self here is just to even give it to them, and then even though they're upset, come back later. Like, you know, I just wanted to let you know, I'll let you calm down. Emotions are high. Right. We'll talk about it later.
Right. And I think it takes a lot of humbleness from your side, right? To really, if you're seeing that someone else is being egotistical, or, you know, has a huge ego, then there's some part of your ego that's hurting, right? Because you wouldn't even notice that someone's like has this huge ego unless you saw it. And so it's like, well, how much of that is created from within you, right?
That's true.
And so it takes a lot to be, and I guess that's why they call it being the bigger person, right? To kind of check your ego. And I mean, working with a lot of the clients that I work with, it's the same kind of thing. You know, you're the expert. You're, as a dancer, like, you're studying this, but people will still try to argue with you. You know what I mean? And just having that sense of humble humility to say,
that's true.
Oh, okay.
I had so many clients tell me, well, I try eating this in the morning, and then, because the last thing I want to do is make them feel wrong, but I tell them, because then that just means that we're butting heads now.
Exactly.
So I always do my best to come from a place of aligning with them, and then somehow shifting their thinking.
Exactly, yeah. And it's a very delicate relationship, because they're hiring you, right? And you are the expert. But they still want to be right. You know.
That's true. Then I've had to let some clients go because of that, because it's like they're still listening to their own coaching. What's your ultimate vision for 10th Muse?
Wow, that's a really great question. I see it just being an alternative, really, to mainstream Hollywood, mainstream media. So a huge network and a movement and a way of thinking and a way of being. So a huge community and space for artists to work together and create, and particularly women, but artists in general in a feminine way. And I actually have a vision of a like huge arts center. Like, think of the Universal Studios of the arts, right? So like huge. Instead of rides and you know, Cinnabon and whatever what else is at Universal Studios? There would be, you know, art galleries and practice studios for musicians and spaces like this,
almost
dance
like
studios. Yeah, totally.
That'd be cool.
And a restaurant of like, you know, where there's like a garden and you have, I mean, I think cooking is one of the fine arts that's like kind of not considered an art a lot of the times, like
really?
The art of cooking. So I have this vision of like there being like this fine dining restaurant where there's a garden that supplies the kitchen and you know what I mean? So there's like all of the arts together in one space, and this utopia of community collaboration and the arts.
Pick your own block of Los Angeles.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, so that's the ultimate vision. But I think right now it's just bringing people together. So it's almost the opposite of if you build it, they will come. It's like if they come, we can build it, right?
Yeah. Because it's not gonna thrive if there's no people supporting it, right?
Right.
So it's all because it's like, I don't know why I just thought it's almost like watching a basketball game, but there's only one person in the audience. It's like it's not as exciting compared to if you have a huge stadium and there's other random people you're celebrating with. It just, I don't know, it brings that connection because we're experiencing it together.
Right.
All right. So what were some of the challenges you faced as a woman from other guys? Because I mean, even though a lot more women are still doing a lot more, it still seems like majority of it is a man's world.
Right. It's so interesting because I think I just shifted my focus. Right. For so long, like growing up in high school and even the early years of college, I felt like I related better with guys than I did with girls. And I had my family, my family I'm really close to, and that's like a close-knit group of girls. And then I had like a couple girlfriends, but for the most part, I was like...
One of the guys.
I was like one of the guys. And it's funny because you mentioned how you always wanted to do contemporary, like a dream. That's how I feel about being a B girl or B boy. I think I have this dream of being a B boy. Like that's my you know, my lost calling or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think, and part of that was because of the way that women interact with each other, and so I think once I started, I really got sure of myself. I think once my feminine side, I started to become in touch with that because I just became whole, right? Through self-development work, through MITT, all of that. Like really, once I really got in touch with who I was fully, then I realized how much I could help other women. And also, a couple years ago, my stepmother died in November, and then my grandmother died the following January.
Oh, wow.
And so these two very significant women in my life passed away within months of each other. Yeah. And, you know, I firmly believe that God, everything happens for a reason, and that God is always present. And so I was, you know, thinking, what is God trying to tell me here? I was in so much pain and hurting so much because I lost these two very significant people, and, you know, coping with their death, and like realizing, okay, well, I think that it's because these matriarchs, these significant women in my family, it's my turn to step up and be a significant woman to culture, right? So it's like to society. So really what God was saying to me is like, okay, like to see the beauty and the role of femininity and create that. And so I think men that get that, men that understand that, I focus on. And I don't really spend a lot of time with men that don't get it.
Got it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's also like studying like what marketing is, right? And knowing like, okay, well, guys like homeboys and guys that just want to like hang out and drink beer and you know, fix trucks or whatever, like probably aren't going to be into what I'm doing, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm not going to fight it. And I think also a lot starts with women.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, male or female, we all have a mother.
Yeah.
Right? And so if we create this huge way of thinking and way of being that's massive as a culture of women that are have really strong self-worth and really embody femininity and masculinity and teach their sons the same, then we won't have these men that will call you a blank if you cry, right? Because their mother allowed them to express both, because and their father, right? So we have this like, does that make sense? I mean, I think it's so in that sense, like it starts with women. I think that's the realization that I came to, and since that point, I've chosen to just focus on the positive and focus on people that really understand. And so I can sense when someone, you know, I mean, I have friends from before were like, oh, does that mean there's going to be a lot of chicks there?
Oh.
Like, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I'm going to move over here.
That's true. So it sounds like you're just being more mindful of who you surround yourself with.
Totally.
Because, I mean, oh my gosh, like a couple of weeks ago, I ran into this one person that tested my patience in a way it hasn't been in a while. And it just reminded me of how I was in college. I was in college, I was a complete douchebag, and I thought I knew it all, and I thought I knew my way with the girls. And Stephanie will tell you to this day I was creepy. So what I tried to do, and then he was trying to do the same with some of my friends, and hit a red flag, and I just said to my friend who invited him, he's cool, but what I'm trying to create right now isn't going to support it.
Right.
And there's this just understanding, I guess, really knowing who you really want as what you're trying to create versus just trying to please everyone.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's also one of the really tough parts, right? Because you love everybody. Yeah. And you love these people, and especially people that you've known for a really long time, but then you're growing into who you are and what you really want to create, and there's like, you know, things don't always line up. And it's challenging.
That's where some people get into the conversation of like, do I just leave my friends? Like, you know, like, and I actually had talked about this with, I think, Ryan or Evan, not too long ago. It's not so much we have to abandon them, it's just we don't have to always surround with them all the time. I mean, because for me, I have some dance friends that are doing some amazing stuff, but I don't approve of what they do after.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm cool. I'm down to perform, but I just so much more than like. I feel like, I guess that's one of the things that frustrates me is not everyone is aware of what they're fully capable of.
Yeah.
And then I guess that's one of the reasons I'm putting the show together.
Totally.
But if 10th Muse were to fail, what would you do?
I mean, I think there's no such thing, really, like, right?
Trick question.
Like 10th Muse can't fail. Like and also, I mean, I think that there's always little failures, you know, and those little failures are just, you know, get back up and try again. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, what's next, right? Yeah. And so either there's no such thing as failure, or I embrace failure and bring it on and like take it on and let it happen, and I'll get back up and try again. Yeah, you know? Definitely, because I mean, before I started doing any of this, or before I even did MITT, I always thought people were just amazing at what they did, and they're somehow inherently gifted. But turns out most of the time they're failing too,
We just happened to catch the good parts.
Yeah.
So, and that was relieving. So, because I saw a couple of my other friends that I was working out with, I see his Instagram. He's like, dang, he's badass. And then I'm working out with him. Like, I see him going through his practicing and what he's missing. I was like, dang, he's human too. So,
and I think you have to fail in order to succeed.
Yeah.
Right?
What would the Candice Cross of today? What's one piece of advice you'd share with Candice Cross of 10 years ago?
Don't judge yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think love yourself, no matter what,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most challenging things for me still, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's just knowing what to focus on and not ignoring that part of me that, especially working in fitness and being a dancer, our bodies are our instruments, and our temple, but they also go through a lot of abuse, right?
It's true.
And so it's like I was always looking, especially going through puberty and in my teen years, I was always looking at something about my body that I didn't like, or getting so distracted on how much better someone else looks than me that it held me back in a lot of ways. So I would say, that judgment and turning that judgment onto myself, then I would start judging other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even subconsciously, just because I'm like so wrapped up in all of this judgment.
Yeah.
That I think that would be the number one thing I would say is, and I'm still learning how to do that. I'm still learning how to, I think it comes from being aware and saying, oh, look, there I am judging myself again. Well, you know what? I love my thighs no matter what size they are, right? And whoever, everyone has their thing, right, with their body. And being grateful for the functionality of it. Like, I'm so capable, right? And I've trained for so long, and even though those judgments were, it's hard, right? We still do it. We still do it every day.
Yeah.
You still get up and train and do what you got to do, and being grateful for that. Like I think we get so caught up in how good we want to be, or I would see how good I want to be and be so focused on what I'm not, that I would forget how good I am at what I am good at.
Oh my God, I go through the same thing. Like when I'm at a jam or I'm in a class and I see some other amazing people, I'm like, damn, I'm not as good.
Yeah.
And then I get feedback from other people, and like, oh, I guess I'm better than I think.
Right.
I guess it's like that shifting the focus, huh?
Yeah, totally. And that self-judgment. So instead of saying, oh, wow, that person's so good, I'm not that good. It's like, wow, that person's so good. What are they doing? How can I do that?
Yeah.
Right? What is it about? And staying in that question, or like, oh, this feels really good. I'm really good at this, or like whatever it is, that you can focus on, rather than the focus of like, okay, well, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because if you keep saying you can't do it, then when are you ever going to be able to do it?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there was a point in my life that I quit dancing intentionally because I got the judgment of being called gay and a fag in elementary school, and I quit for like 4 years. And I remember walking home from school and thinking, I'm never going to dance again.
Oh.
And then
it's so painful.
Yeah, dude, it sucked, and because I've never faced that kind of judgment from other kids. There was like 3 kids, and I still remember their faces.
Yeah.
And then high school came. My friends joined the dance team, and I was like, I can't dance. And secretly, I was learning how to dance from another friend who was teaching me how to glide, like Usher move. Usher was big then. He was teaching me Usher moves, and then I knew I could do it, but I just kept saying I can't do it. Yeah. And then I came for an audition one day, and everyone was surprised that I knew what dancing was.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
I guess I needed just I guess that small victory, and just to put myself out there again, because for that one time as a kid was harsh.
Yeah.
Man, that was tough. I guess I remember how that feels.
Right. And then that kid is making your future decisions, right?
Yeah.
It's like that child is now making your adult decisions, or
because that impact.
Yeah. And
I didn't want to feel like that again.
Yeah, exactly. I can totally relate to that because when I was in high school and grade school, you know that movie White Men Can't Jump?
Yeah, I love that movie. Yeah.
So that was really popular, and it was kind of just, I don't know if there's a part in the movie, but it was kind of just assumed like white men can't jump, white men can't dance, like
yeah.
And so I grew up in Hollywood where majority of people were Black or Hispanic or Latin, and so and then there was like a Russian population, and so there were other white people, but they were all Russian, so I couldn't really relate to that. Like I couldn't speak with them, a lot of them, and so I ended up being one of the only white kids of all of my friends.
Oh, wow.
And everyone was like, that movie had just come out, White Men Can't Jump, and so I was like, well, I'm white, I can't dance, dance, like. I think that's why I never became a B-girl, because I was like, well, I'm white.
There's a lot of B-girls in Hollywood,
too. Do ballet, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I think that's that same kind of thing. Like, well, people told, like, I had this perception. Maybe one person said that white people can't dance, and I actually believed it. And so then I made that my reality, instead of, I love this, I can do this, and making that my reality.
Yeah.
Right, which is where I am now.
Wow. Yeah, that was crazy. A societal influence.
Yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
I think now it's kind of backwards, because now I'm like, no, I can do this. How can I have a societal influence to tell everyone else that they can do it?
Yeah, I think because it's working with kids, teenagers.
Yeah.
They have a lot of them, especially when they come to my class for the first time and they've never danced. A lot of them, a lot of them come off as rigid because I don't think they've ever really had that opportunity to just let go.
Yeah.
And that's what I love, when they finally have that smile on their face and they're just letting go and actually enjoying the moves. Even though it may like look wrong technically, the most important part for all my students is that they just have fun and they just not just do the moves but live the moves.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know, I love seeing that. That's why I love still teaching teenagers.
Me too. It gives me so much joy. And to see that somehow they've unleashed this it's like a well of expression, right?
Yeah,
that lives inside of you, and to see it come out in a artistic and beautiful way, to see them like garnish it, nourish it.
Yeah, because I guess my experience is that it's not very, our society or culture in general, it's not very cultured or cultivated. Because a lot of it, growing up, it was very, get the good grades, get all this, and everything else is just a hobby, even whatever creative. There's never really told that, oh, you have a future of becoming an artist or becoming this, because everyone says it's hard and you're not gonna make it. So
well, I think the significance, right, of the arts in general.
Yeah.
And how, and I think that again comes back to like masculine and feminine, because that need to be creative is from our feminine side, right? Like we all have these masculine and feminine qualities, and that need to create is very feminine, but in mainstream culture, it's all about what makes money, right?
Yes.
And so it's like, how do you, unless your art is sellable, then how do you really make money at it?
Again, that balance of masculine and feminine, because being able to make money off our passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember when I was with one of the hip hop dance organizations they're called Culture Shock. They did something that you guys did when, I don't know when it was, October? Like when I was with you and Donnie and we did that thing for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do that for a lot of the inner city kids, because the LA took out did the whole budget cut thing, and we go to from what I understood, we go to the school, elementary schools or middle schools. We do an assembly for them. We do a demo. We'd have them dance with us, and that we like something we did, and then we enrolled them into a after school dance program.
Nice.
So, and then it's crazy because it's seeing the joy in the kids that they wanted to do something like this, because growing up I had the opportunity to do after school programs, but now it's seeing that it doesn't even exist. It's crazy. It's almost like there's this, like you said, there's this well that's not being allowed to flourish.
Right. And there's actually research that shows that that's kids that do express themselves creatively, have some kind of activity where they're, either making music or doing art or dancing, that they actually perform better in school. And also that people that don't have access to the arts are more likely to act out, are more likely to be destructive.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy how we've gotten to this place where we don't see the arts as if significant.
Yeah.
Because I think it's the same kind of, it's almost preventative versus like, fixing it after a disaster has happened, right? So you're like trying to prevent things from happening, which is nourishing this whole human being versus, oh, now we have all of these criminals, what do we do with them?
Yeah.
Right? That's after the fact. It's like if we nourish them from the beginning.
Yeah. And
it's interesting, I think, and also from our parents are from a different generation. They don't really understand, like, it's considered prestigious to want to be a doctor or a lawyer or, all of these things, which again, are, like,
it's great.
Yeah. But that's a very masculine, like, kind of thing. When you say, I want to be an artist and there's no guarantee that you're going to make money, then I think I can understand as a parent how that would be like nerve-wracking, but at the same time, if we shift our way of thinking and we shift our culture, then when there's just as much significance to creativity and expressing ourselves as there is to going to work every day or that when there's an equal sense of importance, then we can all see the significance.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because it's like that balance, because like when we equal, because like there's the very straight, like the very usual given path, like you go to school, get to college, and you get the job,
right?
And then there's a huge importance on that, and then I guess I'm starting, like, more and more it's starting to show that the system's outdated for this day and age.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the 21st century is so technologically advanced.
Yeah.
And we have the capability to create so much content, right?
Yeah.
And do so much that it's really fascinating to see like where it will go.
Yeah. What's one piece of advice or insight that you can give to anyone that's wanting to start their dream or feel like they're stuck in wanting to get their dream? What's some invite? That one golden nugget, if you can. I know there's a lot you want to share, but
what's coming to mind right now is this quote that I heard, and I feel so horrible that I don't remember who said it, but basically fear as an acronym fear as an acronym is false experience appearing real. And so I think ultimately there's some sort of fear involved whenever we get stuck, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't mean when you're stuck and you're like, because you're tired or you just have a lot going on, but when you're really stuck and you're not moving forward.
Yeah.
For me, it's usually fear. There's some kind of fear that keeps me from taking a leap of faith, that keeps me from jumping to the next level, and to understand that fear is nothing but a made-up scenario, that seems like it's going to be real, but I am not even going to know unless the plunge.
I'm like feeling that, like that. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. So I think that, and ultimately, I mean, for me, it's I don't know, like to be fearless, right? Because ultimately, if I only fear God, and I'm very religious, I'm Catholic, and I think if in understanding what it means to fear God, like even if I die, the only being that's going to decide my eternity is God. So God will tell me that I can't go to heaven. So that's the only thing that I'm afraid of, because even death is not scary when I know that God is with me and I will go to heaven, right? So then there's nothing on this humanly planet that can scare me, right? Because no matter what, it's not real.
Yeah.
And that fear cannot paralyze me.
So tell me what are some of the current projects you're working on?
The events that I talked about before.
Yeah.
Getting those up and running and planning them again. So Express Yourself is happening May 16th and 17th, and we actually have an Express Yourself workshop planned for almost every month for the rest of the year. So we'll be doing that once a month. And then the next Divine Council on June 21st. We're performing at a music festival, and we'll also have another 10th Muse festival in October that has different singers and dancers and performances in one space. So rather than like Ashes to Wings was everyone collaborating together, we're going to do it again where we just invite people to come and perform.
Almost like a variety show.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So working on that, and monthly picnics, so that people who are interested in being a part of this community and being a part of 10th Muse can have a place to come. We'll just meet in the park and network and share with each other, and have a potluck or something, and really allow the community to thrive on its own. Just create the space, create the time, and have everyone meet and collaborate.
All right, awesome. Everything she's saying, you're gonna see down the links down below in terms of show notes. So I know it's a lot to just take in video, but if you wanna actually see it, the links will be down below. So one last question: what's the one thing driving you to keep doing what you're doing?
That I think it's that endless well of creativity and understanding how important that is, and how important it is for other people. And that calling from God, really, that there's this imbalance happening, and that femininity is so important, and to be able to nourish that, and whatever gifts that I've been given, to be able to give them away, and really give them away in such a way that someone else now has unleashed that well of creativity and understands their own gift, is the most joyful thing in the world. And so no matter what the challenges are, when I'm in touch with that, that makes it all worth it.
Wow. Boom. Where can people connect with you on, whether it's you or 10th Muse? Where can they find you, connect with you?
Well, there's our website, www.tenthmuse.org. And then I'm on Facebook, Candice Cross. We're on Twitter at 10th Musings. And we're on Pinterest at 10th Muse. So I think that those are all really great places to find me.
All right. So there you have it, Candice Cross sharing you some of the knowledge of feminine and masculine energy. The 10th Muse strolls as an artist. She just dropped a whole bunch of knowledge on you guys, and everything we talked about is going to be in the show notes right down below. You can find her on Instagram, Twitter, everything that is 10th Muse and Candice Cross related, even Tracy Anderson that we talked about momentarily at the beginning. But other than that, I'll catch you guys later. Oh, one more thing. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and share this with a friend who you think might benefit from it. Other than that, thanks for watching Profiles in Drive, and I'll catch you guys next time. Toodles.
Yay.
Yay, thank you for coming.
Of course.
Digital agencies, EK Branding, and Voltus. Which one do you think I should be focusing on?
Oh, we can just talk to each other.
Okay.
You can start. Roll
Voltus Digital Agency. I'm really passionate about helping entrepreneurs free themselves up to live purposeful lifestyles, and I leverage a lot of mindset stuff, human intelligence,